Pastor Mark here with a preview about the upcoming sermon series in Lent, The 7 Deadly Sins. The season of Lent is a solemn time of spiritual preparation, to look inward, not in a self-absorbed way, but in an honest, introspective effort to know ourselves. What will we find? Our mistakes, our shortcomings, our sins. The title, 7 Deadly Sins, sounds salacious, doesn't it? If you commit one of these sins, does it automatically lead to death? Well, perhaps not immediately. For example, if you commit the sin of gluttony by eating a tub of Moose Tracks ice cream, you likely won't die from all the fudge and peanut butter. One wonders, however, what gluttony can lead to. In traditional Christian teaching, the 7 deadly sins are historically grouped together because they cause or provoke other sins. Now, before I talk you through the calendar and name the 7 deadly sins, let me mention a few more important theological concepts. When we learn the 10 commandments, we rightly understand that breaking a commandment is considered a sin. So, in a basic way, sin is missing the goal God has for us. And as the Apostle Paul wrote, all have sinned and have fallen short of the glory of God. Though we need to be careful not to think of sin merely as not keeping up with a list, as if faithfulness is checking off boxes. Sin is not simply doing the wrong thing or not doing the right thing. Rather, sin names the contorted condition of our humanity that shows up in our relationships, our decision-making, and even when we're left to ourselves. Throughout the sermon series and beyond, I want you to keep in mind how Jesus Christ describes sin, and also how the Apostle Paul does. They use 2 different metaphors. First, Jesus describes sin like an illness. For example, how when you're sick with a sinus infection, it impacts not just how your head feels, but everything in your life, your energy, your impact, etc. That's what sin does to you, says Jesus. Second, Paul describes sin like being in prison, which in ancient times meant having heavy shackles preventing you from living the life you really want to live. That's how sin limits you, says Paul. Okay, now let's talk through the calendar and the 7 deadly sins. First up, on Sunday, February the 18th, pride. The excessive love of self to the point of maneuvering life to be better than others. Then on February 25th, envy. And our district superintendent, the Reverend Beth Chrisman, will be present for both worship services and will give the sermon. She's looking forward to meeting you, worshiping with you, and I'm eager to welcome her as well. That day will be special. On March the 3rd, anger. That uncontrolled rage that does damage. On March 10th, sloth. And we will have a special guest preacher that day as well, the Reverend David Hollis, all the way from Nashville, Tennessee. He's an ordained elder in the United Methodist Church and a dear friend of mine. Looking forward to welcoming David and his family to Salisbury that day. On March 17th, greed, the overblown desire for stuff. And then we'll take a break from the sermon series because March 24th is Palm/Passion Sunday. As you may recall, it's historically Palm Sunday, but in recent years, the liturgical renewal of the church has promoted it Palm/Passion Sunday. Why? To remember how Jesus' triumphant entry into Jerusalem led to his painful suffering and death. And yes, we will have bonus worship services on Maundy, Thursday, and Good Friday as well. And then, of course, Easter Day, March 31st. So let's have those Holy Week and Easter services be what they are, without shoehorning a theme. Because then we will pick back up the 7 deadly sins theme, only that time after Easter, how Jesus' defeat of sin brings us new life. So, on April 7th, gluttony. And Whitney Cassell, our church's ministry intern, will deliver the sermon. I know that we will all look forward to hearing Whitney that day. And then April 14th, we will wrap up the series with lust. So, on the whole, 5 of the deadly sins within Lent, then Holy Week and Easter, and then the last 2 in the frame of Jesus' resurrection. And yes, 3 guest preachers, Beth, David, and Whitney. Because I'm a sinner, and I need all the help I can get. So I'm looking forward to this sermon series, and I hope that you are too. See you soon.